Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 13, verse number 1. Sutta Uvacha Nishamya Kausaravinopavritam Dhruvasya Vaikunthapadhadhirohanam Prarurabhavo Bhagavati Adhokshaje Prashtum Punastam Vidura Prachakrame Sutta Uvacha Nishamya Kausharavinopavritam Dhruvasya Vaikuntham Padhadhirohanam Prarurabhavo Bhagavati Adhokshaje Prashtum Punastam Vidura Prachakrame Sutta Uvacha Nishamya Kausharavinopavritram Dhruvasya Vaikunthapadhadhirohanam Prarurabhavo Bhagavati Adhokshaje Prashtum Pumastam Vidura Prachakrame. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sutta Goswami, continuing to speak to all the rishis, headed by Sonaka, said, after hearing Maitreya Rishi describe Dhruv Maharaj's ascent to Lord Vishnu's abode, Vidura became very much enlightened in devotional emotion, and he inquired from Maitreya as follows. Purport. As evidenced in the topics between Vidura and Maitreya, the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the devotion and the devotees are so fascinating that neither the devotee who is describing them nor the devotee who is hearing is at all fatigued by the inquiries and answers. Transcendental subject matter is so nice that no one becomes tired of hearing or speaking. Others who are devotees may think, how can people devote so much time simply to talk of God? But devotees are never satisfied or satiated in hearing and speaking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead or about His devotees. The more they hear and talk, the more they become enthusiastic to hear. The chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is simply the repetition of three words, Hare, Krishna, and Rama. But still, devotees can go on chanting this Hare Krishna mantra 24 hours a day without feeling. Om Jnana Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Nami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sutta Goswami, continuing to speak to all the rishis, headed by Sonaka, said, after hearing Maitreya Rishi describe Dhruv Maharaj's ascent to Lord abode, Vidura became very much enlightened in devotional emotion, and he inquired from Maitreya as follows. Hare Krishna. I would like to thank all of you all for joining this call, and I would especially like to thank the organizers of this call for giving me an opportunity to serve all of you all. So today we are starting this new chapter, which is entitled Description of the Descendants of Dhruv Maharaj. Now, when we see this name of the chapter, that we get a clue of what to expect in this chapter. That we are going to be hearing about the descendants of Dhruv Maharaj. So the thought comes that, okay, Dhruv Maharaj, we heard about his whole life. He was a great devotee and how he saw the Lord face to face, and in the why so? So it's something which we need to contemplate upon. Why are we going to be hearing about the descendants of this great devotee Dhruv Maharaj? So very briefly, I'll explain it because our subject matter of discussion is going to be something else. But I thought first we'll talk about the chapter that we are entering into today. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu one time was at Shiva's Angan in Shiva's Thakur's house, and he made a very significant statement to Shiva's Thakur. He tells Shiva's Thakur, like last week only we celebrated the appearance day of Shiva's Thakur. So he tells Shiva's Thakur that Shivas, anybody who's connected to you in any way, whether this person is serving you directly or if a person who's serving somebody who's serving you, anybody who's connected to you, whether directly or indirectly, I give this blessing and this benediction today. There is a whole pastime at the end of which he gives this benediction. We won't get into that pastime and all. He gives this benediction to Srivas Thakur that all of them, whether they are serving you directly, they are connected to you directly, related to you directly, or through those who are related to you, be it servant of the servant of the servant also, I grant them Krishna Prem, love of Godhead on this very day. In this lifetime, they're all going to achieve love of Godhead. Now that's amazing, isn't it? And he gave a proof to that. Haribol. Thank you. And he gave a proof to it. Immediately he called upon Shivas Thakur's niece, and he tells her, I'm forgetting her name. He tells her, chant Krishna's name, chant Krishna. And the minute she just chants once, she utters the name Krishna, she goes into ecstasy. Tears start flowing from her eyes. She's rolling. She's falling on the floor. She faints. Now, she is mentioned in Chaitanya Leela only this one time. It's not that she's a very prominent personality whom we keep hearing about her all the time. It's just this one episode where she's mentioned, and after that, she's never mentioned also. But her relationship with Srivas Thakur, is what we are seeing. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives her love of Godhead. And we know Vrindavan Das Thakur is her son. I don't know why I'm forgetting her name. So the point that I'm trying to make is that in the same way, Dhruv Maharaj we have just seen is a pure devotee. He's just seen the Lord face to face, and then we've heard the whole episode of how just in the last chapter, that Viman has come down, he sat on this Viman and he's gone back to Godhead. That's why now in this following chapter, we are going to see his descendants, because as I just explained, even if somebody gets connected to who is connected to the Lord directly, you get benefited. So we will not get into that whole description of the descendants because that is what is the following verses. But I thought I'll just highlight what this chapter and why we will be hearing about the descendants of Dhruv Maharaj also. It's very important to know all those who are related to the pure devotee of the Lord also. So now, as I said, we've just I don't want to get back into this whole episode of Dhruv Maharaj, what all. I think even in yesterday's class, I heard we got a whole, we did a whole recollection of this whole pastime of Dhruv Maharaj, how he went back to Godhead. But what I just want to pick up is one point which will then connect us into our topic today, our talk for today. See, we see this whole episode of Dhruv Maharaj. How does it start? Where does it start? Dhruv Maharaj coming to his father, wanting to sit on the lap of his father, and what happens? We know that episode of how his mother just, utters some very harsh words, and Dhruv Maharaj is heartbroken. It's very heartbreaking for and he's a 5-year-old child, and we've heard through all the emotions that he goes through. Now, in this situation, please hear this very carefully because it's very important to understand this. Dhruv Maharaj is in a very traumatic situation, let's call it, that he wants to sit on his father's lap. He has not been allowed to do that. His mother has spoken some very hard words. How did Dhruv Maharaj respond? This is very important to understand because Prabhupada used to say, test of our spiritual life, of our Krishna consciousness, is how one responds or reciprocates in a provocating situation. Right? So when Dhruv Maharaj was in this situation, how did he respond? It is explained, if you will remember when we were in that chapter. Dhruv Maharaj became very, very angry. And the comparison that was given was just like a snake who's been struck by a stick, who breathes very heavily. Dhruv Maharaj was that angry. And when he was walking out of that palace, out of that courtroom, he vowed that I'm going to get a kingdom which is going to be far, far greater than what to talk of my father, of my great grandfather, even greater than Brahmaji. And then we saw that whole episode, the pastime, of whatever followed. So as of now, I just want to focus on this situation where Dhruv Maharaj was in a very precarious, in a very traumatic situation. And what was his response? He became angry, very angry. Literally, he wanted to take revenge. Right? Now, let us go down Srimad Bhagavatam, a few cantos down, and we will see a very, very similar situation. In this situation, we will see another 5-year-old child in a very similar situation. Who is that 5-year-old child who will be in a situation like Dhruv Maharaj? Prahlad Maharaj. He is sitting on his father's lap, Hiranyakashipu. He's a 5-year-old child. He's same 5-year-old Prahlad, 5-year-old Dhruv Maharaj. And he's sitting on his father's lap. And of course, we won't get into the whole details of the pastime that's coming up. So we know that Hiranyakashipu, asks Prahlad Maharaj this question: what have you learned? What is the best thing that you have learned in your Gurukul? And what is the answer that Prahlad Maharaj gave? He says, Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehina sada samudvigna dhiyamasad graha hitvatma patam grihamandha kupam vanam gatoya dharimashrayeta. He calls his father, oh, best of the asuras. Sura Varya means you're the best of the asuras. What does he say? What have I learned? He says that any person who has accepted this temporary body, which is going through these changes of birth, old age, disease, and death, he says that at some point of time he is going to get into some embarrassing situation because he has fallen into this. He gives a comparison of a dark well. He compares this material world to a dark well, where it's a dry well. There is no water, and this material world also there is no happiness. There is only suffering. And he advises his father. He said, actually, what one should do is that you should give up this kingdom and your position that you are the strongest, you are ruling over Indra and Brahma and all. And you should go away where Vanam Gato Yadharim Ashrayate. Go away into the forest. And Prabhupada explains when Dhruv Maharaj is saying, Prahlad Maharaj is saying forest means he is referring to Vrindavan. Go away to Vrindavan. Now, as I said, we won't go into the whole episode. This same Prahlad Maharaj is tormented by Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu gets very angry. He throws him down from his lap, tells his demons that take him and make sure that you give him the right education. Right? So Prahlad Maharaj goes through again another traumatic situation. He's already in trauma. Imagine you see your own father. Who's your enemy? Your father. See, in the world that we are in, our ashraya, first and only ashraya are our parents, rather, is our father. And if imagine that same father of ours whom we are taking ashraya of is our greatest enemy. He's throwing him in snake pits, he's throwing him from the top of cliffs, he's throwing him into fire. But what was the response of Prahlad Maharaj? This is the important thing that I want to highlight. This whole pastime will be discussed more in detail. I don't want to get into the detail. But the point that I want to make is Prahlad Maharaj's response to this traumatic situation versus Dhruv Maharaj's response to the same type of situation. See, the situations are same. The flavor might differ, but the situation is the same. Both parents, both fathers immigrate to their sons. Dhruv Maharaj, angry, he responds, I'm going to take revenge. I'm going to go away and get a bigger palace. How does Prahlad Maharaj respond? That's the most important thing that we need to understand. To this degree, Prahlad Maharaj is not disturbed. To what degree he is not disturbed? To that degree that even when Hiranyakashipu, the Lord appears and he has killed his father, and he's asking Prahlad Maharaj, what do you want? What does Prahlad Maharaj ask Nrsimha Bhagwan? He says, please forgive my father. This is Prahlad Maharaj. At no point of this whole episode will we read or hear anywhere that Prahlad Maharaj was disturbed. Prahlad Maharaj was upset. Prahlad Maharaj was angry. Nowhere. At all given time, at any given time, he was always composed. He was always taking shelter of the Lord. So, is everybody clear on these two pictures? Now, I'll give you the reason why I'm making this comparison of Dhruv Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. How is it that Prahlad Maharaj was in this situation? He's also 5-year-old. Maharaj is also 5-year-old. It's not that we don't even hear that Prahlad Maharaj came and he went to some Gurukul and he learnt all this and all. No. How is Prahlad Maharaj in this situation versus Dhruv Maharaj? Because of only one reason. Prahlad Maharaj has heard. He practiced Shravanam in the womb of his mother. Again, we'll hear about it in the future chapters, but as it's related to our subject matter today, that's why I thought I'll refer to it only. We know that Kayadu, Prahlad Maharaj's mother, was taken by Narad Muni to protect her from the other devtas. And when she was with Narad Muni started speaking Krishna Katha. And Prahlad Maharaj heard it. His mother may not have heard the full thing, but Prahlad Maharaj did Shravanam in the womb of his mother. And what was the result? The result was when he came out, day one, he was crystal clear in his vision. He could see black as black and white as white. There were no gray areas. That's why he did not see his father Hiranyakashipu as a demon. What was he seeing his father as? Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. He had this understanding. Everybody is part and parcel of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, of Vishnu. At this time frame, he may be a demon. At this time frame, this person may be a devotee. But at the end of the day, he had this whole understanding that everybody is part and parcel of Krishna. This is what is the result of Shravanam, of hearing, and Kirtanam. Because Narad Muni did the Kirtanam, he spoke, and Prahlad Maharaj heard, and the result is right in front of us. And we see that if Shravanam starts that early, how early? In the womb of a mother. Right? If it starts at that stage only, it will continue lifelong. I'll give you an example. Rather, it's in my own personal life that my own son, I remember very well that when he was in the womb, and since I had heard this pastime a lot of times, we made very sure that we used to keep reading the Krishna book, Bhagavatam, because Prabhupada wanted that when a Mataji or mother is pregnant, we should be reading. We made it loud. And today, it's 8 years. Till today, my son, when he wants to sleep in the night, he has to hear a story. Now, I'm not saying that because he's my son. This is prevalent with a lot of devotees. The point I'm trying to make is he got it at the right time. He got it within the womb of his mother. I'll give you another example. There is one, for some of you who may not be knowing, I'm right now an alternative therapist. So I get a lot of different types of patients. So there is this lady who is pregnant. She's going through a lot of challenges, and I have been treating and healing her for quite some time. So she's a devotee. So on day one, on just at the beginning stage only, I told her of a lot of things that she needed to do and don't do, and do's and don'ts and all. But then I asked her, Mataji, are you doing this? Are you reading the Krishna book loudly so that you are going through the challenges, but you have to also think beyond yourself of the child who's there in your womb? Prabhupada is very clear that the Shravanam should start at that stage only. So she said, yes, Prabhuji, it's a good reminder. I have not done it, but I will. It's very initial stage of a pregnancy. I told her, start. That's so important. Shravanam starts at that point, at that stage in the life of a jiva. So why I'm talking about Shravanam is because if we see in today's verse that we just spoke about, in the verse it is said that after hearing Maitreya Rishi describe Dhruv Maharaj's ascent to Lord Vishnu's abode, means, we know that this discussion is going on between Vidura and it's happening in the bank of Ganges. See, the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are 3 dialogues going on. Sometimes we hear Sukdev Goswami Uvacha, that Sukdev Goswami spoke something to Prahlad Maharaj, to Parikshit Maharaj. Then sometimes we'll hear that Maitreya Rishi spoke to Vidura. And the third discussion is Suta Goswami speaking to the rishis in Naimisharanya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi. So there are these concurrent, you can say, not at the same time, but concurrent dialogues, discussions, which are blended and which make up the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. So here it is said that after Maitreya Rishi spoke about this whole pastime of Dhruv Maharaj and him returning back to Vaikuntha, Vidura became very much enlightened in devotional emotion. This is the result of Shravanam. Please try to understand. The whole purport that Prabhupada writes in the purport, he's talking about these 2 things only. He's talking about hearing and speaking. Shravanam and Kirtanam. And that's why I thought today we'll try to focus on only the Shravanam part. Because see, when I speak, we know there are the 9 limbs of devotional service, starting with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaram, Path each of these discussions actually goes for 2 hours. So in 9, actually, I have a presentation which we talk for nearly 18 hours. We don't have that much time. So I thought we'll only go for Shravanam, and that also in Shravanam we'll just try to touch upon some of the very important points of Shravanam. And it may happen, see, in this talk, a lot that I will speak, a lot of you all may have already heard about all this. You always say, this is already heard. But it's important to keep hearing and hearing and hearing about Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaran. Repetition is important because sometimes the message doesn't seep home. Just like if you have a child, if you packed a lunch for him, first time the mother will tell him. Again, when he's on the door, the mother will make sure. She'll tell him, I packed your lunch, don't forget. Third time when he's sitting in the vehicle, in the car, again she'll say, don't forget your lunch. Why is the mother repeating it 3 times? So that the message sets in. It's so important that, like, if you all see, I was just thinking, I'm sure all of you all keep hearing Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, practically in every class, every lecture, somehow or the other bring you to the point of you're not the body, you're the soul. Right? He will always bring us to that point in some context. So much so that one time I was hearing a class of Srila Prabhupada. It was a Radha Ashtami class. And out of the 40-minute class, I think 34 minutes Prabhupada was just talking about all this. You're not the body, you're the soul, this, that, and all. And it was only the last 5 minutes that Prabhupada spoke something about Radharani being the energy of the Lord and how she's serving the Lord and all. And at some time I was thinking, have I put on the right class? So why was Prabhupada, or why would Prabhupada always keep repeating, keep sending home that message? This is the reason. Because when we keep hearing, then at some point the message becomes clear. And if we see, how does this 9 processes that we talk about, Shravanam, Kirtanam, what is the first limb of it? Shravanam. How much importance is given to Shravanam? We'll just today that's what we'll try to understand. So in this verse, Prabhupada say in the purport, Prabhupada says, but devotees are never satisfied or satiated in hearing and speaking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead or about His devotees. The more they hear and talk, the more they become enthusiastic to hear. Now, this principle applies only to Krishna Katha. It's only Krishna Katha. You see, it's been 5,000 years that Krishna stole butter, and till today, 5,000 years later, we keep talking of this pastime of Krishna stealing butter, of Krishna Damodar Leela. Every year after year after year, Kartik month, we hear Damodar Leela. Do we get bored? We say, come on, now, No. Whereas you see any mundane subject matter, mundane call it or material subject matter. I'll give you an example. We know in 1981, a big event happened in the world. Prince Charles married Lady Diana. Now, you all might wonder, Prabhu, where did you get that from? But it was a big, huge event. The whole world was talking about it. And I just did some, homework to see 750 million people watched this event. Okay, that means it was a huge event, right? All over the world. Now, my question is, how many people today even remember Prince Charles or Lady Diana? Of course, with due respect, Lady Diana has left her body, that's okay. But how many of us remember or talk about that event? How many years it has been? 1981, so we are talking of 19 and 9, 8 years. Just years back, this huge event happens. Today, everybody is forgotten. What do we get any rasa in talking about it? Wow, what a marriage it was, and everybody's forgotten about it. But Krishna, what Prabhupada is saying, Krishna Katha, we are just hearing and hearing and hearing and hearing. It gives us ever fresh rasa. Every time you hear it, now depending on how you're hearing it, which we'll talk about today, you will get an ever new rasa to it. That is Shravanam. So, first let me explain to you all how important this Shravanam is, how important hearing is only for that reason. I'll tell you a small story by which we can understand. It's a bit, it's a bit funny, so but at least there's a message to it. So the 70-year-old man, and he feels that his wife is deaf, she can't hear. So he goes to a doctor and tells the doctor that, I feel my wife is deaf, she can't hear. How do I confirm? So the doctor gives him a very simple way of checking whether the wife can hear or not. So next day morning, he's in his house, and here's his wife sitting in the backyard. It's a Sunday. She's sitting in a very comfortable chair. She has the newspaper, and she has a cup of tea, and she's enjoying the cool breeze. So what this husband does is, this old man, he stands at a distance of 30 yards, and from there he calls out to her, "My dear, can you hear me?" And he waits for a response. He doesn't get a response. So from 30 yards, he comes to 20 yards. And he again asks her, "My dear, can you hear me?" He doesn't get a response. So he comes to 10 yards. And again he asks her, "My dear, can you hear me?" Third time also he doesn't get a response. So now what does he do? He goes close to her ear and asks her, "My dear, can you hear me?" And what was the response of the wife? The wife tells him, "For the fourth time, I'm saying yes." Now, I'm hoping you all got the message. Who of the two was not hearing? He was thinking that the wife is not being able to hear. But actually, who was not hearing? It was he who had the hearing problem, not she. All the three times when he asked her, "Are you hearing me? Can you hear me?" She was saying the yes. He was not being able to hear. Till the fourth time when he went very close to her, she said, "Yes, it's for the fourth time that I'm saying yes." That's how important we need to have an understanding of hearing, because hearing is a very important see in spiritual life. So, as I just said, Prahlad Maharaj was not. How did he respond, or what was his response in this very provocative situation? He was very composed. How or why? Because he had heard in the womb of his mother. And that is why, when at a later time he is asked by his father, "What is the best thing you have learned in the ashram, in the Gurukul?" What does he say? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyam Atma Nivedanam Iti Pumsharpita Vishnu Bhaktische Navalakshana Kriyate Bhagavati Yadha Tad Manyeditam Uttamam. So he says, this 9 limbs of devotional service: Shravanam, hearing; Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam; Padasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, and Atma Nivedanam. All this, Iti Pumsharpita Vishnu, when all these are offered to Vishnu. Bhaktischan Navalakshana, this is the Navalakshana, 9 limbs of Bhakti. Then what happens? These 9 processes are accepted as pure. One who has dedicated his life to the service of Krishna through these 9 methods should be understood to be the most learned person, for he has acquired complete knowledge. Tat tan manye adhitam uttamam. He is the uttamam who has understanding of these 9 limbs, these 9 processes of bhakti. Now, again, I'm going to keep it very short. Why does it start with Shravanam? See, if we see the perfection of this 9 limbs, right? He should have started off saying Atma Nivedanam is the perfection. And how to achieve it? Through Shravanam Kirtanam. He starts off with, first thing he says is Shravanam. Unless you have not done Shravanam also, Atma Nivedanam makes no sense to you, to a person. The first step in spiritual, in devotional life is when you hear. And when you hear, see, from here, for a practitioner, he primarily only has to do the first 2 things, Shravanam and Kirtanam. And after that, Smaranam onwards, everything is an outcome of Shravanam and Kirtanam. And the Shravanam and Kirtanam goes away all the way up to Atma Nivedanam also. It's not that once you are Atma Nivedanam, you say, "I don't need Shravanam. I don't need to hear. I don't need to glorify the Lord anymore." We'll see examples. But if a person does the Shravanam and the Kirtanam, and Kirtanam is also a fallout of Shravanam, when you hear, then you automatically or naturally talk. And what do you talk? What you hear. Simple, right? What we talk, what we hear, we talk. And when these 2 things combine, when you are hearing and when you are talking, when you are hearing and you are talking and you are talking and you are hearing, then Smaranam or meditation becomes natural. That will be your meditation, that will be your thought process. See, all through a day, whatever we hear, whatever we speak, whatever we hear, whatever we speak, what happens? When we go to bed in the night, we take that with us, right? If all day I'm thinking of baseball, cricket, stock, what are the chances that in the night when I go to bed, I will be thinking of Krishna? Zero. You can't think of Krishna. You in the night, in the sleep also, you'll be thinking of cricket, or you'll be thinking of baseball, or you'll be thinking of whatever was your thought process in the day, all through the day. I'll give you all real life examples. I used to be in US. I was working in a company, Macy's, and so there was this girl, very nice. She was an African American. She was working in my team. So one day, suddenly in the morning, she walked up to my desk and she told me, because I was a QA person, I used to keep giving her defects. So she had to fix those defects and give it back to me. So I remember one time she was really struggling with the defect, and one day suddenly in the morning she comes to me and the table and she tells, I got it. I fixed it. What she said was very interesting. She said, you know what, Ram? Yesterday all evening I was just thinking about it. What's the problem? I spoke to my dev manager and my dev lead and all that. And she said I went to sleep. And she said, you won't believe it. I don't even know what the time was, 1-2 o'clock. I got a fix to that defect. And I immediately got up, I turned on my laptop and I penned it down so that I don't forget it by morning. What is the fix? And then I went to this is a please. And she said, in the morning I came to office, I just did whatever I thought was right, and now it's fixed. Then I was thinking, what she heard, what she spoke, whatever was her meditation all through, whatever she spoke, whatever she heard was the meditation of the full day, and that was the meditation all through her night. The smaranam happens is a fallout of Shravanam and Kirtanam. I'll give you all another example. See, this was a mundane material example. I'll give you all a scriptural example also. See, we know in Vrindavan every day, one day, it's late night, dead night, and there's a knock on the door of Nand Maharaj. And everybody's sleeping. So Yashodamai gets up, hearing the knock. And she's thinking, dead of the night, who's knocking? And she's always fearful, not for herself, but she's always fearful of her Krishna, of Kana. Anyway, she goes to the door and she opens the door. And guess who's standing in front of the door? Madhu Mangal. And when she sees Madhu Mangal, she says, Madhu, what are you doing here at dead of the night? What does Madhu Mangal reply? He's totally, so enthusiastic, and he's telling her, Maya, where's Kana? We have to go to the forest. Isn't he ready? We are getting late. And Yashodamai is thinking, it's the dead of the night. She tells Madhu, look up. There are still stars in the night. Can you see the moon? It's not morning. Come back in the morning and Kana will be ready and you all can go to the forest. Madhu Mangal was so disappointed. He said, I have to wait till morning when the sun will come out and I can go back again with my Kana to the forest. How? Why? Because Madhu Mangal's whole day is only absorbed in talking and hearing about Krishna. He's with Krishna. Even when he's not with Krishna, he's only talking and they're only thinking about talking and hearing about Krishna. That's why their whole smaranam is also Krishna. The same thing with the gopis of Vrindavan. When Krishna is not there, they're only talking about Krishna. They're only hearing about Krishna. That's why their whole smaranam is about Krishna. To this degree that the gopis tell Krishna, please, for some time, can you get out of our minds so that we can do some of our daily chores? We can cook, we can do some work. Otherwise, whole time we are absorbed in your thoughts. What is this? They are full time only talking and hearing about Krishna. So the smaranam happens naturally. Smaranam is a fallout of Shravanam and Kirtanam. Even Kirtanam is a fallout of Shravanam. The first step is that is why hearing. When we hear, then the Kirtanam and the Smaranam will happen naturally, automatically. And we see so many examples. What is the result of this Shravanam? See, in Bhagavatham, we see example. Rukmini Devi. Rukmini Devi had never seen Krishna. She had never seen Krishna. But what type of attraction What type of love she had developed for Krishna, that she was ready to give up her life. If I don't get Krishna, I don't live. Now, how did this happen? She didn't do any tapasya. We don't hear her. We have not, at least, there's no reference in Bhagavatam that she had done some tapasya. No. Simply by hearing about Krishna, simply about hearing by Krishna, about Krishna, that's all, nothing else. The people who used to come from Vrindavan, they used to talk about Krishna, talk about Krishna, talk about Krishna. She heard about Krishna, and what type of action she developed simply by Shravanam. Another example, it is given that when Srila Prabhupada's name was referred to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur for initiation, they told him that this is Abhay Babu and he's a wonderful devotee, he's been rendering wonderful service. So, Prabhupada, you should, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, you should initiate him. What was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's immediate response? Yes, I will initiate him. And he gave a reason. He said, why will I initiate him? Because Abhay, at time he was Abhay Babu. Abhay Babu likes hearing. We know of that incident, right? That once Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur gave an option. They were in a dham in Vrindavan. And he gave an option to all the 40,000-50,000 devotees who had come for the yatra. Those yatras were huge. 40,000-50,000 devotees used to come. So he gave them two options. He said, look, devotees, if you all want, one option is you all can go and wherever there were some close by temples, you all can go and have darshan, see those temples and come back here. And the other option is that I'm going to sit here and give a talk about this place. Now, whoever of you all can choose. If you all want to sit and hear, wonderful. If you all want, you all can go and see the places around. What did Srila Prabhupada choose at that time? Abhay Babu. Prabhupada says, I chose to sit there and hear from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Even though Prabhupada said that sometimes Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's vocabulary was so high, there were times when he said, I could not even understand. The message also could not come through. Yet he chose to sit there and hear from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And this is what Srila Prabhupada told a lot of times. He said a dham is not revealed by the eyes. You cannot see the dham by going to places or, it's not revealed by the eyes. It's revealed through the ears. Unless you don't hear from the sadhu, from a devotee in the dham will remain unmanifest. It will remain covered. I'll give you one real life example. I know of this person. I was in Atlanta and this person, very nice person. I'm not being critical. I'm just giving you an example. He came to India. He came to India with his family and he went to a lot of places. In India, you have so many places. He went to Vaishnav Devi, he went to a lot of other dhams. And the last place that he visited was Vrindavan. Now, he was sitting in the same room and narrating his experiences of India to another person. And I was sitting in the same office. I was doing some other seva. But I was just hearing what he was telling to this other devotee. He was telling that other devotee, I went to Vaishnav Devi. It was so wonderful. It was so beautiful. It was so clean. The arrangements were wonderful. I got a wonderful room and I would love to go back again over there. And then he spoke of the other places also that he went to. And then when it came to Vrindavan, he said, and then finally I reached Vrindavan. And guess what he had to say about Vrindavan? He said, trust me, Prabhu, I never ever want to go back to Vrindavan. These are his words. He said, Vrindavan, it was so dirty. All that I could see was open sewages. I could see pigs running about. And he said, I don't want to go back to Vrindavan. And when I heard that, my heart actually broke. I was thinking, our aspiration is to make Vrindavan our eternal abode. We want to reside in Vrindavan forever. And how unfortunate it is that this person goes to Vrindavan, but he never wants to return. Why? He was trying to see Vrindavan through his eyes. He was seeing Vrindavan through his eyes. And Prabhupada said, the dham can never be revealed through our eyes. It is revealed through Shravanam, through hearing. Only when you hear, then the dham will be revealed to us. That's the potency. That's the importance of Shravanam. That's the importance of hearing. I'll tell you all of another story in relation to Shravanam, since we'll move on to our next part of Shravanam. One time in a village, not in a village, in a small town, there was a person who he was an artist. He used to make different types of models. So one time, what he did was he made 3 dolls, and these 3 dolls were exactly similar. No difference in them in terms of height, in terms of color, in terms of they were all in all ways they were the same, identical. So what he did was, he was a poor man artisan. He used to make things, sit down on the road and sell them. So here he was sitting on the road with these 3 dolls displayed to sell. So a person comes to him and tells him, how much are these dolls? I want to buy them. They look really beautiful. So this artisan tells him, the first doll that you see on the left, it's 10 rupees. The middle doll is 100 rupees. And the rightmost doll is 1000 rupees. So the person was wondering, uh, these dolls look similar. I don't see any difference in them. Where is the price difference? He says, conditions apply. The difference will be revealed only if you buy them. Unless you don't buy them, you don't get to know what's the difference in them. So this person thought, okay, this guy is some crazy guy, and he walked off. But this way, people kept coming, and everybody got the same answer, and nobody was buying it till it became a talk of the town. That here's this person who's trying to sell these dolls, and they are not priced. They look same, but their prices are 10, 100,000, and he won't reveal the price. And the news reaches the king. So the king hears this, and he becomes very inquisitive to know what's this. So he comes the next day, and he asks this person, what's the cost of these dolls? And he gives the same answer. This doll is 10 rupees, this is 100, this is 1000. And you'll know the difference only if you buy it. So the king gives him 1000 rupees, 100 rupees, and 10 rupees, and he says, the dolls are mine. Now tell me what's the difference. So this person takes a needle, and he pierces the needle in one ear of the 10 rupee doll. And guess what happens? The needle comes out from the other ear. He puts it in the right ear, it comes out from the left ear. King says, wonderful. He takes the second doll. He puts the needle in one of the ear. The needle goes in, and it comes out of the mouth. He says, this is the 100 rupee doll. He takes the third doll. He puts the needle in one of the ears. Guess what? The needle doesn't come out. Nice story, right? So the king was also wondering, okay, what does that mean? So I will explain it to you all what it means. The 10 rupee doll refers to a person who hears from one ear and it just passes out from the other ear. That is one type of Shravanam. It's good. At least he's hearing. And we'll talk about this very briefly because I know I'm running out of time. Number one doll, 10 rupees doll. You hear from one ear, it goes out from the other ear. 100 rupee doll is the person who hears from one ear, he assimilates it and speaks it out. And what is the 1000 rupee doll? He hears and totally absorbs and assimilates it. And I actually added to this story another doll, a 10,000 rupee doll, because in our Vaishnav culture, we hear, we absorb and assimilate, and then we speak it out also, we share it also. So that is the most expensive doll. I'm sure these people weren't there yet. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is that there are different types of hearing, Shravanam also. It's very important to understand, and I'm very quickly going to go through 5 types of different Shravanams or hearing that have been explained by our acharyas in different places, and we just put it together in this presentation. The first type of Shravanam, it's called ignoring listening, which means that a speaker is speaking, the listener is there, he's sitting, but he is not interested. He's there in that place for, out of etiquette, or he's just been put into that place or into that situation where he has to be there and he has to hear. So that is called ignoring hearing. You're hearing, but you're just ignoring whatever is coming. You're least interested in what is being heard. Now, in material life, if you do that Shravanam, it's not going to give you any return. It's useless. But you will be surprised that Krishna Katha, even if it's heard in this mode, what can be the result? I'll tell you of a story, very short, because I'm really running out of time. As I said, this is a 2-hour talk. I'm trying to do it in 40 minutes. There was a thief. Police was chasing him. So the thief thought, I have to escape somewhere. So he suddenly sees a big pandal. That pandal and gets lost in the crowd. The police look for him and they don't get, and they give up and they go away. Now, since he's sitting there, he says, I don't know where I've just landed up, and what this person sitting on the stage is talking. He was least interested. In this talk, there was a sadhu who was actually giving a Bhagavatham. He heard only 3 things from this sadhu. He heard that there is a boy named Gopal. He wears very expensive jewels and he stays in Vrindavan. His mother Yashoda dresses him very wonderfully with jewels every day. He was not interested. He was a thief. But when he heard this, he said, like, wow, here's an opportunity of my life. If I can get to this place, Vrindavan, if I can get this guy, Gopal, and if I can get his jewels, I'm done for my life. I'm sure you all have heard of this story, all of y'all. So this thief goes to Vrindavan. And he's chanting, literally he's chanting, Gopal, where is Gopal? Where does Gopal live? Gopal, Gopal. And Krishna appears. We know that whole story, how Krishna appears and he tries to steal his jewels. First day, Krishna doesn't give it. He says, no, I have to ask my mother. Second day, he comes back. And when Krishna is ready to give the jewels, the thief is already transformed. He said, I don't want those jewels. I don't want those jewels. Now I've got you, the prime jewel. What is this the result of? What Shravanam was this? This was just, he just walked into an assembly and he just heard something. And this is what Prabhupada used to say. This is the potency of the holy name also. If anybody just hears it or utters it whimsically, out of fun, in whatever way they utter, they get the benefit. So that is the first type of Shravanam. I'll try to go fast a bit. Second one is called pretense listening, where you are pretending to be listening. So, you're listening, somebody is speaking and you're listening, and then the person asks you, so what do you think about this? And then you have to say, what did you say? Because you don't even know what he's asking about. Till now, you only pretending, yeah, I'm hearing, you go on speaking. And this happens a lot of times, if you not be saying in Bhagavatham classes or in spiritual discourses, you'll see people who sit and they seem so attentive, they are hearing, and if at the end of the class you just ask them what is the prime message also, they may not get it also. They look as if they are, really attentive and they are hearing. I'll give you one small story. There was one sadhu who was giving a Bhagavatam Saptah. So from day one, from the minute he sat on his asan to speak, he saw a lady sitting right in front, right on the front row. And from day one, there were tears in her ears and she was eyes and she was crying. Till day 7, he saw this lady come every day, sit right in the front row and tears flowing. And he was thinking like, so after the 7th day was over, people come and pay respects to the speaker. So she also came and she paid respects to him. And he asked her a question. He said, Mataji, what part of this whole discourse, this whole sapta was affected you or impacted you the most? That I saw you were in tears from day 1 through day 7. And guess what? The lady gives an answer. She said, you know what, my dear sadhu? Truthfully, I did not even hear one word of your katha. Why were you crying? She said, you know what? Day 1, moment 1, when I came and sat down, I saw your face. I saw your beard. Your beard resembled so much my goat. I come from a neighboring village. Your beard and the beard of my goat resembled so much that I was all the time reminded of this goat who just passed away one day before this Bhagavatam. And I was in tears in separation from my goat. Now, if anybody would have seen her, they would have thought like, wow, she's totally absorbed in listening. This is called pretended listening. Third is what? Selective listening. Now, what is selective listening? I'll give you an example here. Excuse me. Did somebody speak? Okay, sorry. Selective listening is, like I'll give you an example. Students, when they go to school, they will they will want to absorb from a lecturer that they'll keep asking, "Yeah, test mein aa raha hai kya? Is this going to be a part of the exam? Is it part of the syllabus?" No. If it's no, they just close their ears. We are not interested. You just let us know what's coming in the exam. We are interested in that because our goal is to get 92% in my exam. Right? Sometimes even in married life, we see husband comes very tired in the evening. He does very selective listening. The wife will go on, today this happened, that, oh really? And then he's lost again. And, oh really? He'll say the word really, but he doesn't even know in what he's context referring to. See, there's another story I'm being reminded of. There was a Muslim boy, young boy. He used to go to the mosque. And suddenly, after some time, he stopped coming to the mosque. So the priest of the mosque, the Maulvi, he asked the boy, he got him one day and he asked him, why did you stop coming to the mosque? So he tells the Maulvi, he says, because it's written in the Quran. He said, you only said, in the Quran it said that one should not come to the mosque. So this Maulvi was very shocked. He said, did I say that? He said, you said one should not come to the mosque. And then this Maulvi started thinking that when and in what context did I say it? And then he remembered. He said, in the Quran it is said one should not come to the mosque without taking a bath. Now, this boy didn't like coming to the mosque. He was being forced. So he just heard that part of it, that I should not come to the mosque. He just filtered out the without taking a bath. And he told them all, you said one should not come to the mosque. This is called selective hearing. Fourth is, I'm going very fast, attentive hearing. This is, from this point comes the real Shravanam. In attentive hearing, the listener, the audience is focused on what is the speaker's message. And he correlates the message of the speaker with himself. What does it mean for me? That is most important part of Shravanam. What we hear, how does it relate to me? That's the most important thing. That is called attentive hearing. You come back home, you do an introspective, you think about, meditate on what you heard and how you can apply it. That is attentive hearing. And the last one is emphatic listening. Emphatic listening is when you listen and you respond and you get a perfect understanding of what the speaker wants from me, specifically from his talk. And I'll give you an example of this. This is a next step to attentive hearing. Higher step to attentive hearing. See, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Thakur had a lot of disciples, right? And he was giving his instructions to all his disciples. And most of the disciples were hearing it. But there was one disciple who understood Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's heart. What does he want from me? Who was that disciple? Srila Prabhupada. This is the perfection of hearing, of Shravanam. At Radhakund, we know of that incident where Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur told him that if you get money, print books, take it to the Western. How seriously did Srila Prabhupada take this message? He made it his life and soul. And after that, everything, every word, thought, action of his was only directed towards fulfilling that instruction of Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Thakur. This is perfection of hearing. Where we hear, we focus ourselves first of all to understand what's the message of the speaker, and we see where I fit into this. What is the message for me? What am I expected to do? And when we do this, like we see in the case of Srila Prabhupada, when he understood what Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Swami Thakur wanted him to do and made it his life and soul, with this comes what? Empowerment. With the Shravanam will come the empowerment also. What Prabhupada did was actually impossible. Prabhupada himself so many times said it. It was impossible. It's history. It's never happened in the history of humanity. But because he took the words of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur so seriously into his heart, with the words, with the Shravanam came the empowerment. So are we understanding how important this aspect of Shravanam is? And there's so much to it. I am just trying to skip through everything because I know I'm already over time. With your permission, I just want to end with three aspects of Shravanam which we should be careful about also, which Srila Prabhupada has told us a lot of times. One is we should do Shravanam or hearing from proper source. We should not hear from unbonafide speakers. Because we heard in Chaitanya Charitamrita, what is Shravanam and Kirtanam? Shravanam and Kirtanam is watering the seed of the bhakti that has been sowed in our heart. Correct? Now, instead of pouring water, if we pour, suppose, acid, if we pour Coca-Cola in that, what is going to happen? That seed is going to die. Similarly, if we hear from unbonafide speakers, Prabhupada called them cheaters, then what happens? The seed of bhakti that has been sown in our heart will die. We have to be very careful of Shravanam is happening from whom. We should be hearing from proper source, from bona fide speakers. And we should never give in to Shravanam of a Gramya Katha. Now again, this is a big topic which I talk about, but I'm just giving you three highlights where Shravanam should be avoided also. Because Gramya Katha is going on from, Prabhupada used to say, from sunrise to sunset. Even the birds are cooing. You go out, you will meet people who are just talking about, they talk of Ukraine and they talk of Iran and they talk of Greenland. They cannot take care of their own personal lives, of their own two-roomed house problem, and they spend so much of their time and energy in trying to understand the problems of Venezuela. And whoever is there who has been assigned that task of taking care of the problem, let them do it. Avoid Gramya Katha. And the third thing is, never ever give your ear to hearing blasphemy or ninda of devotees. That Shravanam will just kill your Bhakti Lata Beach in no time. So, as I said, there is a lot more that can be spoken about Shravanam, but I just thought today we can talk about this aspect of Shravanam, hearing and Kirtanam, because in this purport that we saw, Prabhupada has given so much emphasis on this hearing and talking. And he ends by saying that the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is simply the repetition of three words, Hare Krishna and Ram. And if you all, I don't know how many of you all have read this book by Burijan Prabhu, 9 Keys of Japa. I had done a workshop in Atlanta on those 9 keys. I think the second key to that chanting of the holy name he talks about is hearing. He says that in this whole chanting process, the most important element is, are we hearing every syllable of the Maha Mantra? When we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. If we are hearing, then from the Naam will come the form. Right? Naam, then comes the form, then comes the qualities, then comes the attributes, then comes the Leela. All will manifest. But if you are not hearing only, if you are not connected to the holy name only, then how will the Roop come? How will the Gunas come? How will the forms and attributes of Krishna come? And how will the Leelas be manifested? So he gives so much emphasis on Shravana, means hearing every syllable of that Maha Mantra that we chant. And that is what Prabhupada is saying over here. Devotees can go on chanting this Maha Mantra 24 hours a day without feeling fatigue, only if we do this. Otherwise, for us, 15 nouns can be so heavy. But if we are hearing the holy name connects us to Krishna, the person. And then from that, the form, the attributes, the Leela, everything will be manifest to us. And then we will also become enlightened, like Vidura we are hearing over here. Vidura became very much enlightened in devotional emotion. We will also be enlightened. No more Krishna consciousness will be a burden, like, oh, I have to go on the altar, or I have to go and cut. No. We will look forward to, will be really enthusiastic in our devotional life. So I would like to end here. Thank you very much. I think I did go a bit overboard. I'm so sorry about it. But I don't know whether do we have time for question answers, or I'll leave it to Mataji to decide. But from my end, I have shared something what I thought about this verse. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I'm not sure we should have too many questions, because I think most of the subject matter, I think most of y'all have always heard it, and I don't know how much of it was shared was new for y'all. I'm sure everybody of y'all have heard most of it. It's just that we had a little fresher today. But if anybody has questions, we can take them. Questions, or if anybody wants to comment or share their experiences, I'll be very happy to hear. Thank you so much, Mataji, for your inspiring words. The last one was emphatic hearing. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mataji, give me just 1 minute, please.